welcome back to the Moto Moves podcast. It's your host, Bianca, and my special guest again, my husband, Hector.
So,
And so I wanted to talk about, since it's Mental Health Awareness Month, I wanted to talk about that today, kicking off the month with awareness. So anyway, yeah, I know that last month was I can't say it because then I'm gonna get shadow banned. It was assault awareness. So I know that most of the month we concentrated on that. And so now we get to talk about mental health, and I think that it's perfect that it's almost back, or that it is back to back, because we can talk about mental health related to different traumas. Unfortunately for me, I have a stack of them. So thanks. Yeah, so I thought we could kind of unpack that a little bit, but not only that, put you on the spot. My husband just started going through his own mental health journey, healing process, and he's doing amazing. And so I think that it's important we talk about both sides, not just me and how my traumas and my mental health journey has affected the family, but I think that a lot of the time it's really hard for men to talk about mental health and how that affects them or their decision to get help and their journey. And so I think it's important we address that and open that conversation up more too, so they feel more comfortable and less judged and scared. I don't know if scared is the right word. So anyway, so to get started, I'll just start with myself because I know maybe that will be kind of an icebreaker. And so, like you guys already know, I'm a survivor of MST, and so that's brought many mental health issues. And so I have PTSD, which therefore I have anxiety and depression and irrational thoughts, right? And so following that, I was in a abusive marriage, which also brought on other issues along with PTSD, or maybe just enhanced my PTSD from being in an abusive and aggressive environment. And I think what took a bigger toll on for my mental health in that aspect was the emotional abuse. And so therefore I have body dysmorphia. And so I'm very, very critical of myself, of my appearance. And I work really hard to, for many reasons. I mean, ultimately it's health, right? But it's kind of conjoined. Yeah, I'm 100% involved in my health journey for my health, but it also does affect the perspective that I have about myself physically and visually. And so I struggle with that still. I think more than anything else is what I struggle with the most when it comes down to mental health. And so I think that that's something I think we talk about more often than not every week, because something will trigger me. Somebody will make a comment about my appearance, or my clothes might fit a little bit different, or not even that. Like I could have one bad day where, we were busy and we had to eat out or whatever. I'm like out of my routine. And then I start, you know, what I see in the mirror is not realistic. Like I really believe that I see this person that I was told I was, even though I know that that's not true. And so I think that's one of my really big struggles right now. And it's been for a long time. I think I've done better as far as my other mental health issues, right?
for the most part, yeah. I mean, you have. But you just like you just mentioned, I mean, it's the fact that I mean, because you were in that abusive relationship, it did affect you dramatically. I mean, when it comes to like the way you look, the way you feel, and like you said, though, this is pretty much something that we talk about. It seems like every day that you're not happy with yourself, that you look fat, whatever the case may be, which is not true, by the way, guys. She is not fat at all. And man, but I mean, but right now, I think that what we need to actually do is actually educate educate everybody. You know that I mean that it's okay to be yourself. It's okay to look how you look. I mean, as long as you're healthy about it. And yeah, I mean that.
Yeah, it's true. It's like you lose sight, right? Like all the things and the changes that I've made in my life was based on my health, right? Like I was always sick, I didn't feel good, I was unhealthy. And I think I got that way because I was so depressed, right?
She was always in the hospital. Always in the hospital. She was always at the doctor's. Always something wrong with her. Always, always, always.
Yep. And so ultimately I made a choice, right, to be healthier and feel better. Um, but alongside with that, it was just those feelings of feeling inadequate. Like when you have someone telling you for years that you're disgusting and you're fat and nobody's ever going to want you or look at you, and um, I'm lucky to be there with this person, and um, you get ready and you try to look nice, and and you get made fun of and you get called, you look like a whore, or
It's
you
a
look,
mental fuck.
it's just
It's a mental fuck. I mean, and it's actually it's kind of crazy again because I mean I'm always telling my wife how beautiful she is. I say that many times during the day. I mean, but guess what? Though? I mean, but she acknowledged it. But guess what? Though she doesn't feel like it because that trauma that she experienced for 3 years. I mean, it has affected her up to date. I mean, and her self-esteem is down the drain, is down. I don't know why, again, because she is just beautiful. I mean, and the fact that this person, that mental fuck, I mean, every day for 3 years, I mean, telling her, "Well, you should look at this person's ass because yours doesn't look like that." I was like,
yeah.
dude, stop, yo. I mean, how fucked up is that, you know? I mean, that's not cool. I mean, why would you body shame somebody like that?
Yeah.
Doesn't make any
Yeah,
sense.
body shaming, right? And like direct body shaming from a person that obviously, any comment like that has a great impact on you, right? Because that's supposed to your spouse or your significant other, right? So it's like, okay, so you're not happy with me, and then you work really hard to fix it, right? So at some point, yes. So, I mean, I had a child, I gained weight, and so whatever. But all these things happened before that, and so before that, I was not overweight. I was not. And I don't think I was ever a whore or unworthy. Like I knew those things weren't true. And I remember in those moments, I'd be like, okay, well then, fuck you, whatever. Okay, But then uh, it's the mental, it plays with you. Like then you get cheated on and you keep getting mistreated and you're like, oh well, shit, then I'm not good enough. Like what is it about me that this person has to go someplace else, right? And then the dynamic is unhealthy and unhappy, and so you're like, oh well, maybe I am the problem, it's me, I'm not good enough, or I don't look good enough, or whatever the case is. And so um yeah, it's just a mind game, and it really does affect you. And it's true, like we do have this conversation where it's like he does praise me and he does compliment me, and even the girls, the kids, tell me things all the time. And it's not that those things don't matter, because they do.
But the damage is so deep. I mean,
Yeah.
this person fucked her so hard that is it's just hard for her to actually acknowledge who she really is at the present time. I mean, and that's the thing though. I mean, no matter what though, I mean, and that's a fucked up thing about um about this kind of abuse though. I mean, it's the fact that in physical abuse, you overcome it. I mean, you heal, you do this, it's simple, you can actually see you getting better, healing. Mental health, on the other hand, is just there. Why? Because I mean, your brain is always gonna remember that. I mean, your brain is gonna be like, no, remember, you're fat because he treated you this way and he said these things to you, and I looked a certain way. That. You know what I mean? So the mental health again is just gonna stay there forever.
Yeah, the emotional damage, right? And so like
Emotional damage.
so yeah, the emotional damage, like, and so those are things too that I try to make sure to be careful, the word, the language and the vocabulary that we use with the kids, right? Like that's important to me because of this, because that stays, right? So all those words, they stay. And then when things don't work out, you convince yourself that those words are true. And it's true. Like he said, you get a broken bone, it'll heal. Now, do you still have trauma from that? Of course. Um, do the bruises go away? Yes. And I mean, all that healing is emotional too, right? All that damage, all that trauma is emotional. But these are wounds that, you can't see. And so, people will compliment me and tell me things. I can't take a compliment for shit. I can't at all. Like the other day, one of the teachers was like, "Oh, I love your hair," and I was like, "Thanks. It's not mine. It's extensions." And I could tell she was like, "Still looks nice though." And so I don't know how to take a compliment. Someone will give me a compliment and I'll find a way to not make it about me. Like, "Oh, thanks. It's because this shirt, it's from wherever and the shirt has nothing to do with anything,
You look next to me. Oh yeah, it's the sun. The sun.
The sun is shining really bright today, so maybe it's blinding you. You can't really see well. um, but it's true. I don't know how to take a compliment, and it's because of that, And so, anyway, I try to make sure that we use, when we talk to the kids and when we're upset, that we don't say,
Hurtful things.
hurtful
We
things.
never criticize our kids. I mean, when it comes to their physique,
Yeah,
never. I mean, because again, it's just things. I mean, imagine if the person you love, the person you look up to, for example, mom, dad, in this case, telling you, you know what, you're fucking fat. I mean, how? I mean, how? I mean, oh shit. I mean,
I mean, there's nicer ways to say things, right?
absolutely.
And I think too, I feel guilt that I have this issue because, I don't want the kids to think like everything is about appearance. And like, maybe not our oldest, but our middle one sometimes, she like picks at herself, at her appearance, and she doesn't like certain things about her appearance. And then I'm just like, and I tell her, you look fine, you look good, or if you want to change something, just work on it. Um, but then, she's honest and she'll be like, "Oh, well, look who's talking." And it's like, fuck, like she's she's not wrong, like who am I to say anything when I'm constantly, feeling insecure and not good enough. Um,
By the way, she's great at giving advice. She's horrible at taking her own
oh,
advice.
thanks. I think everyone's like that though. No, that's not true because I've come a long way. And so I've done better.
You have done
So,
better.
but with that being said, it's true. It's easier, right, said than done. That's for everybody. And so, like, right now, my new goal is like, I need to work on this. I feel like I've overcome a lot of hurdles in other aspects of my mental health, but this one for sure is a big one for me in the moment. And I just don't want it to like spread into my family and leak into like the girls, and I don't want them to grow up thinking like everything is about appearance, and to be like, to make life about the vanity of things, right? And so right now that's really what I'm working on, and it's just hard. But like I said, it's not, it's weird to explain because it's like I know it's not true, and I see myself in the mirror, but I convince myself that I'm not seeing what I see in the mirror.
Because I mean, you have those invisible wounds.
Right.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. It's weird. Like, it's really, really weird. Because I'll get upset and I'll be upset. And then once I calm down, I'm like, okay, I was tripping. Like, I don't even know what, like I'll make fun of it and everybody's over it. Nobody laughs. Everybody's like, oh my God, whatever, but I mean, it's true. And so, like I said, everybody has a battle, like we all have things that we deal with, and nobody knows every day, I go out, I go to work, I go and do my thing, or if I'm at home doing what I need to do, and every day I have stuff that I battle with. Some days more than others. And most days I think are good days. To be fair, I think most days are good days. But since it's mental health awareness, I thought it'd be important because I'm sure there's many people out there that battle with the same thing. And it doesn't always have to be from a spouse. It could be from parents, growing up, belittling you, telling you, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're too fat or too skinny or not athletic enough, or those are things that also I kind of grew up with, which kind of maybe enhance, I think, my situation. I feel like growing up it was like,
Pues se hace thing, I mean, you growing up, though, I mean, you had the fact, you had the mental health aspect, because they always told you that you weren't good enough, that you weren't smart enough, that you were not this, that you weren't that. That. I mean, so that mental health just mess around with you, of course. But then after that, though, later in life, now, so that was pretty much like your intellectual side, if you want to put it that way.
yeah.
But then after that, though, you grew up, and when you were with this other person, I mean, this guy fucked with your body aspect of your mental health.
So now you put it together, it's like a whole big thing.
Yeah,
So not only are you physically not good enough, mentally you're not,
yeah,
you're not that bright either.
No, I mean, it's
But
crazy.
no, but it's true. And like I said, that's why for me it's important for us to be careful. And don't get me wrong, I've had my slip ups. I'm not perfect, and we've had moments, in the heat of the moment. Parenting is not easy. And so, that I've said things that I regret and I've apologized for, and I still, regret.
To this day.
Yeah, to this day, but I'm conscious of that, right? And I think that our parents are old school and they're just kind of like, they try to like brush it off. Like, I never said that. Those things didn't happen. I would never, right? And so taking accountability, I think, also helps people heal from their mental health. So if somebody can honestly take accountability for like their actions and what they say and do, I think that helps a little bit. Like, it doesn't make it disappear, but at least it helps,
The
right?
fact that the person acknowledged.
Acknowledge. Like for me, my dad's gone, so he's never gonna acknowledge shit, but I mean, even with my mom, like stupid little things, like we'll tell her, me and my brother, be like, remember that one time you were so mad? And I don't know, I can't think of like a specific, but whatever, right? And she's like, I never did that, I would never. And it's like, dude, yes, you did, because it's two of us. There was a witness. So you definitely did that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but when you actually acknowledge, you actually get some closure. I mean, it's that
Yes.
the ones are gonna be there, of course they're gonna be there. I mean, they mess around with you for 2, 3, 5, 10 years, whatever the case may be. Of course, the ones are gonna be there. But the fact that that person was human enough to acknowledge what they did to you, I think, like I said, you're not gonna be healed, but
But makes it better.
It's a comfort. It's kind of comforting. You know what? Thank you for acknowledging that.
It's easier, I think, to talk yourself out of that self-doubt. Like if like for example, if my dad apologized or whatever for like the academic part, right? Like it was never good enough, straight A's were not good enough. I had to be better. It was like A plus because otherwise he wasn't good, right? So then, like, if someone tells you, like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. I was just trying to push you. I wasn't trying to make you feel like you weren't smart enough," and it's like, "Oh, okay." So then it's like, "Oh, okay." Like, so you weren't saying I was stupid. You were just saying, like, push a little harder. Okay, right? So then it's like a switch changes in your mind, right? And so that it's easier to cope with that. Or the same thing, you're in an abusive relationship or whatever, or even, yeah, friendship. I mean, even with friends, right? You can have a friend that is mean or whatever, and if they can be, yeah, humble enough to say, like, "Hey, I was upset. I didn't mean to make you feel that way. I don't think you're XYZ," and then it's like, oh, okay, and then you kind of can move past that. But when someone just acts like, disregards their behavior and their words hurt, and words stick with you. And so, and no matter how much you prove, it's not true, and you prove to yourself and them that it's not true, those things stick, And so I think that one's a really, really hard one. I think it also kind of, if you think about it, comes down to the military too, right? Like, the way they like mentally break you down, and you're like, "You're a fucking idiot. Do this, do that," and then you become this person that has to be micromanaged, right? Because you're like, "Oh shit, I don't want to fuck up and be called an idiot and then be the idiot of, like the group." So you're like, and so then.
But I guess in the military, you're kind of expecting that anyway.
I mean, that's true, but
I mean, look at me.
But it does affect
still,
you.
Of course, it affects me, but I mean, like, well, I guess it doesn't affect you as much because a loved one,
right? Yeah, that's true.
Didn't say shit like that.
That's true. I guess it's true, but it does still have some like mental effect on you. You become this like dependent person. Yeah, your self-esteem, and not only that, like you become this dependent person where it's like, you need to know what to do all the time, be told, because you don't want to get yelled at and like degraded. So you're like, fuck. You don't want to do anything on your own because you're like, "Oh my God, just tell me what to do so I don't disappoint you."
Sure, I'm like that still. I mean, and again, I mean, that's part of my healing process. I mean, but yeah, I mean, I am Bianca is a witness, of course. I mean, I have to ask how I do certain things. I know how to do it. I know exactly what it is. I know how to, for example, cooking, for example. I know exactly how to go. I'm a pretty good cook. But guess what though? There's not like I need to call Bianca for reassurance. Just to make sure that I'm doing it okay. I know I'm doing it okay. But I have to, but I have to make sure that I do that. I mean, because guess what though? Because that brainwashed in the military, you never wanted to let nobody down, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so guess what though? I mean, you don't want to let nobody down. Therefore, I asked them, like, for example, if I'm cooking, I don't know, some type of pasta, whatever. I mean, before I even make the pasta, before I even cook everything, I go to the girl's room, taste it. I mean, is it gonna change anything? Nope, it's not. But guess what? Though? I need their approval. I need to because I don't want to let them down. You see, I mean, because they love the the shrimp linguine that I make. I mean, the shrimp scampi with linguine. They love that. So guess what? I mean, but here I am. And it's okay how to make it. I have made it a lot of times, but guess what? I still go to the room before I actually serve and taste it just to make sure that you like it.
And isn't that crazy? And that's you're like that because of words, guys. Words. So if people are out there thinking like, "Oh, it's just, I didn't mean it," they know I was just kidding, or I was just pissed, so they know. No, we don't know. Nobody knows. If you don't tell someone like, "I didn't mean that, I'm sorry, shit, I was being a jerk," like my bad.
No
They,
way.
yeah, they don't know. Just in case someone needs clarification, right? Words freaking matter, man. Like words will mess you up. And so yeah, words just really have an impact. So we have to really be careful about, and I'm not saying like be all sensitive and shit, because we're not. I mean, I think we're pretty tough skinned people, and I think our kids are pretty tough skinned too. Like, we can take a joke and we can, like when we're having a conversation, real talk, like we will, and like
Just be a good human. That's
yeah,
it.
dude. Yeah, yeah. Don't be spiteful and fucking petty, right? Like, oh, you know what? I know how I'm gonna get you. I'm just gonna tell you you're fucking worthless and a dumbass because you know what? You pissed me off today. Like, dude, let's not do that. Like,
Right.
I mean, let's keep things in perspective. And that's a accomplishment in itself, right? Like to really have that self-control and say like, okay, I'm freaking pissed and I need to like remove myself because I'm gonna say some fucked up shit. You can't take that away, like you really can't take that away. And so anyway, I think we're kind of big on that and we try and we slip, right?
Of course.
To a certain extent, not to that kind of level, but sometimes, we say things that we don't mean and but we try to correct our actions and like definitely take accountability for that. So yeah, that's what my struggle is right now and then what we're working on with the kids to not do. um and so anyway, um back to Hector. I'm on the spot. So I know that starting mental health care is difficult, right? And so having to acknowledge that you need help, I think, is the first difficult step. And so we're proud of you, just FYI. But I think that I don't want to say it's harder for men,
It is.
but I think it is.
Yeah, because it's a sense of pride. I mean, because men don't fuck up. Men don't. Yeah, I mean, they know what they're doing. They're the man of the house, for example. I'm the breadwinner. I'm this. I'm that. I'm the guy that protects the family. So I mean, therefore, I mean, admitting that you have mental issues is kind of like a weakness or look upon as a for us. It's look upon as a weakness, So, I mean, so you don't want to admit that you have that you're all fucked up. I mean, because you're all fucked up, how are you gonna take care of your family?
Right.
I mean, that's the reason why it's a little harder for I'm guessing I don't speak for everybody out there, by the way, but in my opinion, I mean that's the reason why it is harder for men to actually to acknowledge that they're fucked up, to acknowledge that they need therapy. I mean, and yeah, I mean, I think that's the reason why. I mean,
I think that makes sense. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. It's true. And I think I think that's why sometimes when there's a dysfunctional family dynamic and it's the dad, um eh, the family falls apart.
yeah,
Like I'm not saying that mental health for a mom doesn't fall apart because it can, but I feel like, yeah, you're right. You're like the head of the family, you're the strength of the family, right? And so then when you're battling, those like monsters and you can't even control yourself, then, the household kind of falls apart, right? Um, and I think that we kind of saw that last year for us. It was it was tense in here,
yeah,
right? It was tense in here between everyone and um there was clearly a problem, but we didn't really know what the problem was, right?
nope.
Uh
And then we finally figured out like freaking late last year,
yeah.
November timeframe. That's the when we figured out what the hell's going on with me. And the hardest thing to is with me is admitting that you need help. And trust me, and it's hard. It's hard going to this therapy. I go to therapy every week for an hour. I don't want to talk to my therapist for an hour every week. I mean, but then after that, I kind of feel like my week kind of like it's more, uh, what's the word I'm looking for here? Stable. We'll put it that way. It's a little bit more stable. And by the way, it sucks to try to be a good person. It's hard as fuck, yo. It's hard as fuck. Because that's what you always have to check your emotions. You always have to check your like how you talk to people. You always have to check when you're making faces. Being a good human is hard. It's hard work. It's hard to remove yourself from a certain situation when you're getting pissed off
Triggered.
because or triggered exactly. Because guess what though, your first thing is like, you know what? No, I'm gonna fuck shit up right now because I'm triggered. But no, you kind of have to remove. It's hard, yo. It's hard to remove yourself out of the situation. It's hard to do shit like that, yo.
It's true.
It's hard to be a good human being. It's really hard.
I know. It's funny because he said that to me like a month ago or something. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he was like, it's hard to be a good human being. I'm like, we are good human beings. I think what he means is, which brings a lot of perspective to how you feel about yourself and who you were before therapy.
Right.
Right. So that means you felt like you were being a good human being, right? So
I thought I was. But then after that time, but then clearly I'm not. Because if I keep, well, that's the thing, because the thing about it is that we make it the norm. Like, for example, me getting upset with the kids for no reason. That's norm. Oh, no, it's not the norm, yo. But I thought it was the norm because guess what, though? That's what I was taught. You see what I'm saying? Now, again, now that I'm getting the therapy once a week, now it's like I see things a little different. I mean, was I wrong? Maybe not. But was it the right thing to do? That's pretty much when you have to say, was I wrong? Maybe not. But was it the right thing to do? No, it wasn't the right thing to do.
it was wrong. What are you talking about? It was wrong. It was the wrong thing to do because you're acting out of being triggered. You're not acting out of like your true self.
Okay, what I mean was like I wasn't wrong back then because I had my issues. Now of course I look back, of course, yeah, I was
Exactly.
wrong.
So that's what I'm saying. Like now in retrospect, you're like, yeah, I wasn't being a good person.
Right.
Right. So, and that's what I'm saying. So, like, you think back, and that's how I feel too. Like, man, I was such a bad mom, and I was such a bad wife, right? Like, before I got help, like, it's crazy. Saying and acting a certain way, and it's like, and yeah, it's normal, right? Like, that's how we function and that's how we live. So, to me, it was like, I'm not doing anything wrong. This is our life, right? But then once you realize something's wrong with you and you look back and you're like, oh, yeah, that's not how I should be acting or behaving. Um, and so, yeah, so anyway, like, yeah, you said that to me like a month ago. It's so hard to be a good person. And I was like, what does that even mean? Like, we are good people, but that gives you insight into how you feel about yourself and the way you were behaving
Right.
before therapy, right? And so, which brings awareness to like there is a change, right? Our personality changes due to trauma, and we do things that we surprise ourselves, like I didn't want to behave that way or say those things or do those things, and we do subconsciously. And so yeah, I think it's crazy how we just learn to live like that every day, and it's just normal.
Yeah.
It's
It's normal. Yeah, it's normal.
it's just normal, you know? It's not normal, but it's normal. It's like that's your life. But even as you're living it, you're like, what the hell is going on? Like, this is not normal. This is not happy. Like, why is there constant problems, arguments, And so, um, yeah, but the other thing I was gonna say too, like every week, yes, he's like, I don't want to go to therapy. And I'm like, why? I don't want to. But there's certain days where you're like, I really don't want to go today. And I'm like, those are the days you need to go, And sure enough, I think those days you have the better sessions, right?
Mhm.
And you come out feeling better and more insightful. And so that's something I always say, like, don't ever skip therapy. But if there's a day where you're like, not having it and you're like, fuck that, I'm not fucking doing this today, especially don't skip that day. That's the day you most need to go. And like, I don't know, it's like self-sabotage, you know what I mean? It's like you're feeling that shitty inside, you don't want to deal with it, so you tell yourself like, I don't need to, like, especially this week, man, I'm too busy, I'm too tired, I'm too this, I'm too that. But it's like self-sabotage because you know that conversation, that session is going to be super deep, and you're going to have to deal with some things that you really don't want to deal with, and they're like, and that's when they start like simmering to the top, and you one small little trigger and it's game over. It's like you lose all that the progress you make, because you'll make one bad outburst because you're there, and then now you're like back at zero. Now you have to,
We can work back up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. But but it's good.
It's good.
It is good.
It's good.
It's good. You're better.
Yeah, I am.
Exactly. Like there's actually, I want to say there's no tension. I was gonna say less, but there's none. Um yeah, there's none.
Nice.
There's no constant fighting. Just misattitude is teenagers, man. But
Don't have kids.
um yeah, just yeah. Yeah, it's better. I think it's better. I think our communication is better too.
It's better for everybody except for me because I have to put the work.
I have to put in the work too because I have to be more understanding too. Sometimes you're still snappy, and I'm just like, the petty in me wants to be like, excuse me, and but then I'm like, no, he's been doing really good. We haven't had an argument or a discussion, like a argument, in like weeks. You know what? I'm not gonna make it about this one little, you know, comment moment. And it takes a lot because you have to be understanding, right? Like, I understand what his triggers are now and based on his trauma. And so I know when a snappy comment is a trigger, and I know when you're just being a jerk, right? And so I have to do the work and like decipher through that, right? And be like, okay, this was this, so I gotta let it go. Like when I went to work on Tuesday. And I remember I told you, I was like, it took everything in me to not send you a petty text because I was so mad. He made like some, I don't know. And it wasn't the comment, it was like the tone, and I was like, that's a fighting tone right there. But it was. Oh my God. It was a fighting tone. And so I was like, and I contemplated sending a Tony text and being like, I don't know. I don't even remember because it's that insignificant. Like it was just the tone. But yeah, like I gotta check myself too. Um, and so things have been better. And so, like I said, advocate for mental health, and there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with asking for help, and it's just gonna make your life better. And it's gonna be hard, like you have to put in the work. That's something I told Hector when he first started. I was like, it's not just about showing up. We can all show up to therapy, and we can ride the wave and fake the funk and all that, and be like, oh, yeah. it's what you do after therapy. Like you have to do the work, right? And it's hard work.
It's hard.
It's
It's hard, guys. Hard.
it's hard, right? And then when you got two people, no, three, because Kaylee, when you got a family dynamic where everybody's all unbalanced, like it's a lot more work.
It's hard.
It's exhausting, but it's worth it though, like everybody's happier and everyone sees a difference. And I think it just like motivates everybody to do their part, right? Like you see a difference and you
It's
see them doing
contagious.
the work. Yeah, it is. It really is. Like, oh, dad's doing better, so I gotta watch myself. Mom's doing better, I gotta watch myself. Kaylee's doing better. Dude, okay, let's keep this rolling, right? Like, let's keep it going, keep the good energy, like, and so it's good. It might be exhausting more days than not, but at the end of the day, it's all worth it. I think back to like our life last year and this year, and it's like day and night, right?
Yeah. And FYI, last year, guys, we had everything. Making good money, going to trips, doing all kinds of stuff, and the tension was just
Yeah.
this year, we're not doing as well, quote unquote, compared to what we're doing last year. But guess what? Though everything is more chill. The environment is great. You don't feel the tension. I mean, it kind of balances out, though. I mean,
Which goes to show you how much your mental health is worth,
yeah,
right?
money doesn't matter. Trips don't matter. I
I mean, it's
mean,
nice,
of
right?
course, I mean, it's
It's
cool.
nice.
But
But I mean, at the end of the day, like your health and your mental health is health, guys. Like at the end of the day, if you're right here, you're going to be right here and you're going to be right here, right? So you, it all starts here, man. It really does. Like you're not going to be motivated to do anything if you're not okay here, And so I think we're testaments of that. And so I'm proud of that. I'm proud that our family can be proof of that and show others and everyone to know like we know it's not easy and we've struggled. I mean, it's funny, it's like we switched off, right? And that's how life works sometimes. Life works in mysterious ways. And so he held it together for years and he took charge while I was mentally unstable and he made this family work somehow and and even through whatever everything I was going through and all the extra things life threw at us and then I'm better now and it was like now it was his turn. God or the universe decided, okay, it's time, right? And now it's his time. And so it's a beautiful time, I think. It really is a good time for our family because things are just kind of coming together in different ways. And it really does make you appreciate things, differently. Like I said, money, yeah, I mean, money makes the world go round, right? And clearly, if you don't have it, brings a bunch of other problems, but also having it brings a lot of problems too, right? And it's not about all the things you can buy and all the places you can go. And I know in this world right now, this social media world, that's what people try to make it about that, right? Look at what I have, look at where I go, look at what I do, which is cool. I'm not a hater. I mean, do you, right? But what's it all worth if, your family is not okay and you're not okay and you're hanging on by a string, right?
yeah,
Like if you're mentally just not stable and you're not mentally and emotionally available for your family, I think is something that we really need to really like look at and work on because I think people like to cover it up with other things, and that just makes a bigger issue and a bigger problem, right?
Get help, people.
Get mental help.
Get help.
Yeah.
And to try to heal those wounds.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Be a better person. It's hard.
Yeah.
But do it.
It's hard, but do it. Yeah. And
don't be an asshole.
I know. I know.
Don't be petty.
It's hard sometimes. You want to just like make your point.
Don't be addictive.
I know pettiness is, I think pettiness is the word we use to make it sound less, right? Like pettiness is being vindictive, you know, like I'm gonna get mine, you know? So yeah, I think that we need to do better at that. I do, but I'm doing good. But everybody else do better.
Yes.
But
Be a good human.
yeah.
Work on your mental health.
Yeah.
If you guys need help, I'm not the one to actually help you, but I listen to you, I guess.
Yeah.
If I have to. Yeah, I mean, but talk. Communication is key.
Yeah.
Communication is key, guys. I mean, if you don't communicate, you ain't going nowhere.
Yep. You can't get help.
No.
Yeah.
Nope.
I can't help you if you don't tell me what's wrong. That's what I tell the kids all the time. If you don't tell me what's wrong, I can't help you. Whether it's like physical or whatever, if they're upset, like if you don't tell me what the problem is, I can't help you. And that goes for all of us, right? We all like to say nothing's wrong and I'm fine, I'll get over it. But the truth is that we're not fine most of the time, and we're not going to get over it. It's just going to build. And yeah, so anyway, I think that's it. I think that's what I wanted to kind of cover to kick off the month.
Okay.
And yeah, thank you for listening and joining us again. Make sure to drink your celery juice, get your free therapy and work out, go for a walk, clear your mind, make moto moves, and we'll catch you guys next time. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.